Welcome on in, members of the chapter, as well as potential new initiates, and I will pose you this question. What is a lieutenant without his loyal followers as well as squad mates? Well, absolutely nothing. So in this action figure review, we will be taking a look at the rest of Lieutenant Titus's squad mates, which happen to be Sergeant Gadriel as well as Chairon. And just like with Titus, we shall see if JoyToy did a great job of translating the video game versions into the real-life versions. So, time to dive on in. When comparing the real version of the head and face area to the video game version, I would have to say that JoyToy's translation of Gadriel is very accurate. Perhaps one may even argue more accurate than the previously reviewed Lieutenant Titus. JoyToy got the scars on the forehead, cheek, and the chin correct. However, I think that the shading on the left side of the cheek is rather overpronounced and could be dialed back a little bit. The helmet is fantastic looking in my opinion, with deep shading between the armor sections, and while at first glance the lenses are very dull black color, but just like with Titus, you can open up the top of the helmet to reveal translucent green lenses. When looking at the pauldrons, they are more decorated than your average 40K sergeant due to the high level of decorations. There's prominent gold outlining on both the edges of the pauldron, and this left one bears the red skulled sergeant marking, while the right one has a very significant corded double aquila to give an otherwise bland area much needed spice. Also, these areas remain very faithful to the game. Unfortunately, the arms are like a barren desert with no decorations whatsoever, but this is standard for most MK10 armor. The manly chest of Gadriel sports a very outgoing gold-winged skull, and that is it for this area. Just like with Titus, I do wish that there was some shading that can be found in the feathers of the wings, but sadly they remain non-existent. Aside from that, the only other decorations are a lone purity steel and a heraldic shield on the shoulder. While the torso area remains pretty flavorless, JoyToy has actually quietly amped up the design of the area because you can see these highly decorated abdominal plates and a better portrayal of the black soft armor parts. The action figure waist of Gadriel is a mirror image of his video game self, with the highly texturized pouches on either side of this rather plain buckle. The 5 leather strips that make up his tabard is highly textured with highlighting and some battle damage right here. The way that the tabard appears gives you the feeling that they are in motion. Unlike most Space Marines, there is a presence of a tabard in the back. Sadly, when looking at the legs of the sergeant, you know that you are looking at a 40K creation of Belisarius Cawl, because all you see is the shaded blue area of the armor with the sergeant symbol on the right knee and a lonely purity seal that is pitifully hanging out by itself. Looking at the backpack, I think JoyToy may have gotten a little bit too excited because of the extra white markings that are found here, but I know that these markings don't belong. Aside from that, the presence of the raised Ultramarines U and the purity seal adds a nice touch to the rather plain back. Just like with Titus, the top part of the backpack is highly detailed with these vents instead of just plain black stripes. While we are talking about the backpack, the jump pack is pretty interesting in that you can see this red glow of the engine and highly weathered sections of the grav chutes right here. I really like how you have the option of swapping out Gadriel's loadout with an assault version with this chainsword, as well as this bolt pistol right here. As I said before on Titus's review, there is a fantastic color balance with the chainsword and the usage of different colors to find each region. Gadriel also comes with decently textured versions of a holster and unholstered versions of a bolt pistol. The final thing that I'm going to point out is that his bolt rifle is different than that of Titus's auto bolt rifle, in that Gadriel's comes with a scope and actually a removable magazine. And now let's get to Brother Chairon's review. Now there will be some repeated design cues that are found on both Chairon and Gadriel, so I will spare you the boredom and only point out the differences on Chairon. JoyToy's accuracy with Chairon's face is amazing, with the scar on the forehead as well as the one in the chin area. His goatee is also highly texturized, which stands in contrast to his baby smooth face. The helmet looks way better than your average Space Marine Intercessor's helmet that has been produced by JoyToy in the past. The ear area and the pipes are clearly defined with different colors. Again, while the lenses look like a dull red, almost a black at first glance, I'm glad that you have the option of putting a lighting element in here that turns a rather lifeless area into a glowing, angry red. Again, the Pauldron of Chairon has more detail than your average intercessor in that his boasts a gold-studded outlining. Then at the bottom is engraved Ultramarines wording. Aside from that, the Pauldron has only a screened-on Ultramarines U with a purity seal, and the right one has a nice chain wrapped in front of it that is very unique and also very faithful to the video game version. Chairon's left arm has a nice long purity seal ribbon that is wrapped around his forearm, which is not seen in most Grunt Space Marines, and you can remove this part. And the right arm bears an accurate representation of his video game robotic arm. With the waist area, I like the usage of this leather belt that wraps around to break up the blue of the armor. Then dangling down from the belt are these 2 Space Marine decorations, or relics that are different from each other and also quite different from the ones that JoyToy has produced in the past. The weapons loadout of Chairon is exactly the same as Titus's in that he has a chainsword and a bolt pistol. What makes his loadout different from Gadriel's is that Chairon has a superbly colored auto bolt rifle with this strap that you can sling around his shoulder. In terms of movement, thankfully there is really nothing to talk about, which is a good thing. Both of these action figures have full range of motion, and another thing that I'll highlight again is this new V4 Pauldron right here. As I said in Titus' review, this area is superb and quite Sigma. I really love these gradual improvements that JoyToy is making, but this is a massive jump in action figure technology. I also wanted to mention the ability to swap out the different parts of Titus' squad. I think that this level of customization is stellar, and I really wonder if this is something that we are going to see in future Space Marine releases. Now, I know that the V4 Pauldrons are going to be a permanent thing that we are going to see in later action figures, but I think that these swappable parts are only going to be exclusive to this squad. However, I do hope that I am wrong. And so thank you for joining me in this action figure review. Now, time for my final thoughts. All right, members of the chapter, as usual, please let me know what you thought of the ever doubtful Gadriel as well as the ever angry Chairon. I am interested to hear what your thoughts for these action figures are. And my assessment of these action figures as well as Lieutenant Titus is that these are probably the best action figures in terms of regular intercessors that JoyToy has ever produced. And this is absolutely a no-brainer for any Warhammer 40K action figure as well as even Space Marine 2 aficionado to get. There's really nothing like owning your heroes and being able to see them displayed in your home. As I have said in the review, the reasons to get these action figures are numerous, starting off with the unique face sculpts, the ability to swap out the assault configuration with the jump pack, to a long-range version with the bolt rifles. JoyToy is seriously stepping up their game with these customizations. So once again, members of the chapter, thank you so much for joining me in this action figure review. It has been such a pleasure being able to discuss these action figures with you at great lengths over time and seeing JoyToy improve all these action figures over time. And I can only assume that things are going to get better. So anyways, thank you for your subscriptions, your likes, as well as your comments that you leave in the comments section. And if you do want to get these action figures, once again, there's only one place to get them at, and that is at David Toys for a multitude of reasons. But the biggest reason is that their customer service is unparalleled and fantastic, because I have been using them for 2 to 3 years and they have been perfectly flawless for me. And before you check out, do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. So going forward, we still have a lot of things to take a look at with comparing the McFarlane version of Titus versus the JoyToy version, and then taking a look at all the different versions of intercessors V1 through V4 in exhaustive detail. So with those videos to look forward to, I'll see you all in the next one.